Whatever you do to lose the weight, you're going to have to do to keep it off.
This is the problem of having known each other for so long, is you can pull out the embarrassing things.
Well, welcome back to Insights with Marsha. We're so glad you're here. I have a feeling whatever you were planning on doing today, you were meant to watch this episode because it's going to be power-packed with lots of great insights. And the best person to have lots of insights with is my good friend, Brian McCullough. Brian and I have known each other for decades. I'm the co-founder of Naturally Slim, a weight loss program that started in the 70s, still going on today, known now today as Wonder. And Bryan is lost 90 pounds with Naturally Slim. He lost 40 more before that, 50? Take every pound.
That's right. Yeah.
50 before that, and has kept it off for almost 11 years. See, I go for the big numbers, almost 11 years. So we want y'all to understand more about me. Why would I want you to listen to Insights with Marsha? So we're going to tell you a little bit more about me and a little bit more about Bryan.
Yeah, and I appreciate being here, Marsha, and thankful for this opportunity. One of the cool things about our relationship is you were a client of mine for a while. I was a client of yours for a while. We become friends, so we have a lot of paths that cross.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful for Naturally Slim. And one of the things that I really appreciated about you from the beginning was that you're a nurse practitioner. And so you have a medical understanding of what's going on, right? And it's not just that you are looking at data and making some guesses. You understand the science behind it. And so I wanted to ask your take on some of the new recent things that have come out with some of the weight loss injections, drugs that are enabling people to lose weight, and they're having success at it. So what do you think about that? Is this the magic pill that we've all been waiting for that I wished I had 20 years ago?
Oh, so funny you should ask that because my mom, having started this program back in 1977, and in the early 70s, she was already doing every diet in the book. I'll talk later about how she even went to see Dr. Atkins in New York. So I have been observing weight in all the different programs. Let's see, I was elementary school to junior high in 70. And let's see, there's 30 years, 55 years of watching this. And, they really put you on speed, back in my mother's day. And then we had the fins and heart issues. And when I was teaching my classes, I remember a certain online psychologist, I'm just going to call him, that has a TV show. I went, well, that's going to mess up business for a couple of years. Although I know all these people that write the books really don't know anything about true weight loss, how to keep it off. They just know about diets. And so now here we are again. It's like somebody shook it up again with the GLP-1s and others. And so I think they're good. I think we'd really, once again, kind of like the fins and everything else, it's going to take a long period of time to see how it all shakes out and to see what results we see, how people do it, what are the long-term results. Because I read, I get all the different medical emails and study, here's this study and that study. One study I found particularly interesting was that 1 year after being on the injections, 60% of people aren't doing them anymore. And a friend of mine, her daughter's in her 20s, early 20s. And so I know her daughter and her little friends because they'd come in the house and we'd visit ever since they were younger. And she talked about one that was terrified of what she was going to do when she got off the weight loss medication. And that part just hurts my heart because, you and I have always talked about whatever you do to lose the weight, you're going to have to do to keep it off.
Right.
So there are some people who are effective with lower doses, maybe for years and years and years. But I think at the heart of it, people still need to develop a healthy relationship with food.
Absolutely.
And they still need to, they need the basic things that I taught forever. Eat when you're hungry. Eat slowly. Stop when you're comfortable. Taste your food. Just those kind of basics. So right now, I think they're good. Kind of funny. Anytime I've seen somebody that they've been a certain weight forever, and all of a sudden they're thin. I kind of go, I don't know. Maybe they did it. So, it's one of those things we don't know yet, but I'm just so glad there's so many people that are losing and getting to feel that freedom. And if they want it bad enough, they can persist at trying to keep it off. You told me a good story about a comedian.
Well, I had heard a comedian that had been overweight for most of his life, and he would joke about that, and it's very funny, makes jokes about fast food and all that kind of stuff. But he got on one of the weight loss injection drugs and did lose weight. And so recently his stand-up special that he had, he's skinny, and he's saying people are giving me grief about, cheating by taking the injection and losing weight. He said, get off my back. I know this is temporary. I'm just trying to enjoy it right now.
Yeah.
So even that perspective of, maybe this won't last. But one of the things that I loved about Naturally Slim was, look, you can lose weight any number of ways, right? If you follow a weight loss program, you're likely going to lose weight on it. It's can you maintain that? Can you keep doing what how you lost the weight after you're finished with it? And that's where people mostly fail. And where Naturally Slim succeeds is it gives you those tools to change your relationship with food, to give you control over it. And so I would say, man, people that have lost weight using the injection drugs, maybe they have for the first time in their lives found this freedom. Mm-hmm. This is the perfect time to learn the tools that Naturally Slim gives you, so that you're not dependent upon that thing, and you do have that freedom from taking over once again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's one of the gifts of Naturally Slim.
Yeah. And so almost 6 years ago, I sold the majority interest, me and my business partners of Naturally Slim, to Wonder Health. And Wonder is implementing that right now. They're trying to work alongside the weight loss drugs and say, let us teach you the tools. Let us show you how to eat when you're hungry, stop when you're comfortable. And I think that's just a must.
Absolutely.
Because you get off the drug, and if you never learned what you were just saying, the relationship with food, it's not happening. So
yeah, and speaking about the science and the medicine of it, I heard a term when I was working with you and you were teaching the Naturally Slim classes that I hadn't heard before, and I since have heard it a lot, and that's metabolic syndrome.
Yeah.
Tell me again, because I'm not the smartest knife in the shed. What is metabolic syndrome, and why is that so important?
Yeah.
Why, as I'm getting older, do I need to care about that more and more?
I know what you mean. Okay, so I will have to brag on myself one more time and say we've just been decades ahead of ourselves the whole way through. The whole way through. Mother's been told by MDs, PhDs at the same time, you were 25 years ahead of your time. And my business partners, one of them is a benefits consultant, so he understands the healthcare industry. And he looked at about 3 million healthcare claims, and his job was to figure out what was driving the medical cost. And that means why are people getting sick? And it was the people with metabolic syndrome. And so that's why you should care about it. And it's really, there's 5 risk factors. One is triglycerides in your blood, and you can really raise those by eating too much sugar. The other one was not enough good cholesterol, which is your HDLs. And another one was your blood sugar is higher than 100. And then your waist circumference and your blood pressure. So if you had 3 of those that were out of whack, not necessarily 2, but when you hit 3, those are the people who are having the heart attacks, going in for the surgery for their back because of the weight or whatever. Those were the people that were costing insurance companies money. So finding out about metabolic syndrome, once again, we were working on that in 2006. And like you said, since then, you've heard about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So have you had any just incredibly large successes in that space?
So it was so fun. There is a healthcare system in Davenport, Iowa called Genesis. And we partnered with them. And so I've run the classes all kinds of ways. Online, like you were saying, in person. Last week you talked about your mom was even in one of my small classes. I literally flew up there once a week for 10 weeks because they said, we think we want this program. We've heard about it. We want it for our hospital system. And they got 150 of the leadership. This might be the nurse in charge of oncology, the doctors in the ER, all the people that could be an influencer. Only we didn't know that term back then. I flew up there once a week and taught them. And we had people that were considered diabetic that weren't diabetic at the end. we actually, if you look at metabolic syndrome, and that was our goal, of the population of that 150 that had metabolic syndrome, at the end of the 10 weeks, 45% didn't have it.
Wow.
And to give you perspective on that, near that time, Santa Fe Aventis was trying to develop a pill for metabolic syndrome. And they could only get single-digit reversal, like 9%. Maybe it was 8 or something. And too many people died in the study, so they didn't even get that passed. So to get a 45% reduction in metabolic syndrome in 10 weeks is just unheard of. And as you and I have talked about before, it's just listening to your body. When you're hungry, stopping when you're comfortable, having all foods in moderation. You don't have to get over about the fats and the this and the that. You're just an intuitive eater. And so they got really serious about wellness, which I was thrilled with because I was working on showing wellness paid off in 2005. And I'm working with the city of Garland. And so anyhow, we worked with them between 2007 and 2011. And they're a hospital. And this is their employees. And they know how to measure healthcare costs because they're a big part of the cost. And they literally said, I've got a graph of it, over those 5 years, we saved them $47.4 million.
Oh, my gosh. $1
million.
Oh.
So that's why when we were talking about week 1, I thought I'd just be helping Betty Sue here and Billy Bob there, coming to me one by one. But suddenly we opened it up to corporations. And it opened to corporations because they're like, if they can save $47.4 million, what can I say?
Absolutely.
And that's why we had state governments and universities and everybody else as our clients.
Yeah.
Eating regular foods.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So that was fun. I enjoyed that.
And one of the things that I love about you is not only do you have this program that really is just pulling from age-old truths, right? And putting them together, reminding people that, but you're also quite the innovator. You and I met originally because of a mutual friend that was in the web space because you were trying to get your program online at a time when nobody was doing that. Tell me about what that was like back in those early days.
Yeah. So I had one other guy that I think could have even been before who we're talking about because in 2003, so I got the business. Mother had retired from the business and I got it going again. And my birthday, which is September of 1999. And by 2003, this company had heard about us called Executive Health Exams. And they wanted they did exams for health, for executives. And they had this cool place in Rockefeller Center or where the ice rink and all that was. And they said, we can't get people to you. Will you make an online program? And I was like, sure. Because in grad school, I had done a website for a doctor's office when there were no websites. And so I said, sure. And that was kind of the catalyst. And so in 2003, and every year I was changing it up and redoing it. I was putting videos online because I could only teach where I could be, and flying to places like Davenport, Iowa once a week just wasn't cutting it for being able to get the multitude. So, when YouTube got launched?
No, I don't remember.
It was December of 2005.
Wow.
So I'm like, wow. So you see, guys, that's why we feel like we have some insights. It just seems like my life has been being a little bit ahead of the curve and figuring out what works. But yeah, that's how that one happened.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And how do you guys how did you prove the success of Naturally Slim? Did you just look at people and say, well, they seem to have lost weight, or was there more?
It's so funny because getting into that corporate space and learning what I did, back when we got started, we did pre and post lab work on everybody. Before the program, you had your lab work done. At the end of the program, you had your lab work done because we were looking for metabolic syndrome. And we were getting between 40 and 50% reversal at the end of that 10 weeks. And we just laughed because other wellness programs that were out there, nobody was thinking of doing measurable results. They said they were good because they walked 5 days that week and they drank 5 10-ounce glasses of water or 6 10-ounce glasses of water that day. That was literally how they were measuring wellness. So we just jumped in there. We were the first online wellness program. We were the first one to measure it with lab values. And it was fun because we kind of blew them out of the wire and got a real early start. And then there was a bunch of copycats after that trying trying to catch up, but we were too far ahead.
Oh, that's fantastic. And you've made quite the impact in a lot of people's lives and in a lot of industries, which is just fantastic.
Yeah, it's been fun. Okay, I got a question or two for you. Okay. What was one of your biggest changes that you think propelled you the most?
Through the program?
Yeah.
Well, I think
still today.
Yeah, I think that what helps me maintain my relationship with food today is the understanding of appetite versus hunger, and then don't deny but delay. Recognizing that I can really eat whatever I want if I eat it at the right time and the right way. And that freedom is incredible. It enables me to look forward to things. I still think about food quite often, but now I think about it in excitement, anticipation, not in fear.
Yeah.
And so that's been a big one. And then you said in the program that I always remember, if you eat slowly, you will never be overweight. And I try to eat slowly, but my temptation is to, cram it in as fast as I can, because we're all busy. We all want to get it done. But slow down.
And why that is all of our lives are run by processes. We don't think about it, but even how you get up in the morning is a process.
Yeah.
Like I do this, then I go brush my teeth, and I take my shower, then I do this, and it's a process. And this process and how we do it and certain tendencies reoccur everywhere in life. And so our process in this world is hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. Hurry up and get to the office, hurry up and do this, hurry up and do that. And so it takes some education and some learning to be able to sit down and suddenly put the brakes on that process of hurrying up and saying, I'm important and I'm going to take my time.
Yeah.
So,
and we see that that's not just true in eating, but our health demands that we slow down. But we're in this culture of distraction and of expedience, and our health is part of the equation. Eating is part of that equation, but that's a principle that's important across our lives.
Yeah. So I'm gonna get you to tell a story on you.
Okay.
It has to do with walking in the rain.
Oh, this is the problem of having known each other for so long, is you can pull out the embarrassing things. But
I think it's cool.
Yeah. So when I was going through Naturally Slim, again, I had tried every program that you can think of, and I just could not lose weight. And so when I was starting to lose weight on Naturally Slim, I was so very excited. After I was angry at the beginning, I was frustrated that I hadn't done this before, but then I got excited about it. But one of the principles was, whatever you do to lose the weight, you have to keep doing in order to keep the weight off. And I despise exercise so much. That's not to say I don't like being active. I do like playing sports, having fun, but to run just for run's sake, so I didn't want 1 pound of my weight loss to be beholden to anything related to exercise. So I stopped playing basketball. I stopped jogging. I would take walks. My wife and I would take walks often, but I wouldn't even jog if it was raining. I wouldn't jog to my car if it was raining outside, because I didn't want to risk the chance of 1 ounce of my weight loss being attributed to exercise that I'd have to keep doing later to keep it off. So maybe that's a little too OCD in my headspace, but that was how dedicated I was to the program.
No, I love that story. Now, a female, we're going to run in the rain. That's the only time, because, oh my gosh, they're here. But that
I didn't have that concern.
That just says, didn't even think about that. That just says how dedicated you are. I love it. I love it. I love it. If you love Insights with Marsha and you want even more, I have something for you. Go to my Patreon page, and there you'll be able to watch ad-free episodes that come out early, bonus content every week, my personal show notes, and you may even have a chance to get your questions answered on the podcast. So for $5, $10, or $20 a month, we will keep this conversation going. So go to patreon.com/insightswithmarsha, patreon.com/insightswithmarsha. And let's have some fun. Let's keep the conversation going. I hope to see you there.
Well, I have some questions for you, because as wonderful as you've done with the program and so many people you've helped, the history of this predates even you.
Yes.
So your mom, an amazing woman that I've had the privilege of meeting several times. Tell us her history with Naturally Slim and her weight loss journey.
Yes. My mom's an amazing woman, extremely intelligent, even in the fact, like she was in college at age 16. Yeah, she's just brilliant, but a nice brilliant, not a nerdy brilliant. But Mama, like you, she always had a weight problem. In fact, she talks about remembering dieting like when she was 6 years old, and she told herself, I'm only going to eat an apple today and stuff. So yeah, she grew up with that too. But Mom, let's see, she's been a life member of all the different programs. She, in the early 70s, went to see Dr. Atkins in New York. You name it, she tried it. And it's fun to go look at old pictures because there weren't a lot of old overweight people in the early 70s. You know, I'll go watch the Andy Griffith show or something like that and go, we're kind of different these days, you know? And so Mother had a group of friends, and she was the only overweight one. And her best friend was what we term a truth end. In other words, she's just always been that way. Eats when she's hungry, stops when she's comfortable. So she thought, by golly, I'm going to start watching Betty, and I'm going to see what it is she does. So Mama just started learning the principles. In fact, one of the ways she started learning the principles was she had taken her best friend with her to New York to go see Dr. Atkins. Well, 2 women in New York, they're going to be shopping and eating. And she said, I'd been to my appointment, and we're walking down the street. She goes, I remember stepping my foot off the curb, and I was saying, where should we go eat tonight? And what should we have for lunch? And her friend looked at her and said, you always talk about food. And my mom said, I thought we talked about food. And she's like, no, you talk about food. And she said, kind of hurt her feelings. And she thought, well, like you, kind of determined, like, I will never talk about food again. She said, I had nothing to say for 2 months. Yeah. But she started understanding some of the way overeaters are. That obsession with food. What's going to be the next meal? What was the last meal? The obsessed with it. But in all that quiet is when she started watching her friend, watching people. And then she was actually studying to be a therapist because in the 70s, it was all about therapy. And so she was studying to be a therapist. And she thought, well, the only thing, you know, everybody had to have a group together and have group therapy. And she thought, well, the only thing I've ever really done is I lost my weight. And so she called up a bunch of people and held her first class. And from there is when I was talking about how the next class. But it's kind of interesting because Mom's only about 5'2". She went from 150 to 102. And I just saw her yesterday. That's what she still weighs. She still weighs 102. So, you know, she just took it to more. She just grew it. I could have never done that. I was more the business type that I'll talk about through my podcast later. I learned how to use affirmations like, God is bringing the right people to me to help me grow the business. You know, she's, you know, in 1999 said, I want to go travel with Daddy. Here's the manual. Here's what I give people when they come to class. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I'm the one that got it into corporations and did all that. But I could have never figured out what she figured out. And a former medical director I had who had been he's an MD, PhD, and been at some of the world-renowned weight loss places. And as a world-renowned weight loss expert, interviewed her and said, you were 25 years ahead of your time. Nobody knew this. And I'm still floored at how many programs say they know it, but they don't really know it. So she was just ahead of her time. If it worked for her, never would have, you know, had this information. I've seen another person or two dabble in it, and I've read their stuff, but she just, through all those years of refining it, put it together in a way that people could understand. I'll give you an example. She used to say, people would say, eat less. And she'd go, eat less. That's like cutting myself and saying, bleed less. How do you do that? Right. And so a lot of what I want this podcast to be is all about how. How do I do things? Right. In fact, I'm new to the social media world, even though I had the foresight to go develop an online program and a website for a doctor's office before anybody hardly even knew how to use the internet. When I look at social media, my eyes cross. But I did open up some inspirational stuff and read it the other day, and it was all these great statements, but I thought, those statements aren't helping me know how to have that and how to do that. So just like how we taught people how to be a normal weight, and how to, you know, part of it was how to get their emotional needs met. We taught all that. I want this to be a podcast of hows. Yeah. So Mother taught us all how to do it. And so I'm hoping with Insights with Marsha that we're going to teach a lot of hows.
Can't wait to hear about it.
Yeah. So I'm hoping all of y'all, that's a Southern statement, guys. All y'all. So if you don't like Southern accents, I'm sorry. If you want to get some insights with Marsha, it's all y'all. We'll come back next week.